So I've teased this. Pro Football Focus put out its grades for the quarterbacks returning to college football this coming season. Of course, this is in the wake of the draft. Now those guys have moved on. And what is left? And I told you you'd be interested to know who was number one on that list. Was it Jayden Daniels? It is not Jayden Daniels. He is not number one. He's not your quarterback here in Baton Rouge. Is it the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams? It is not. He's not ranked first. Sam Hartman, a lot of buzz. Is he first? No. Well, what about Michael Penix? He threw for a lot of yards. It was at Washington. No, not Michael Penix. Bo Nix got some Heisman buzz last year at Oregon. Is it Bo Nix? Not Bo Nix. Oh, Drake May going to be the first pick in the draft. Is it Drake May? It's not Drake May. The number one returning quarterback in terms of Pro Football Focus grades is Jordan Travis of the Florida State Seminoles. This is something I've actually said in the last couple of weeks, and it is something you will hear a lot from me in August. I spent all of August last year looking at Florida State highlights, watching that first game they played, saying, it's a pretty talented team, and their quarterback, Jordan Travis, is a pretty good player. He's not all that fast, doesn't have a very big arm, and he's not deadly accurate, but, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's a pretty good player. That's what I said last August. This August, I'm going to tell you I'm terrified of Jordan Travis. He was absolutely surgical last year in the Superdome on third downs. Could not get him off the field. And really played well throughout the rest of the season for Florida State. I think 1 to 22 and 1 to 85, LSU's probably got an edge on Florida State. I don't claim to know Florida State's roster up and down. We'll get there. I know Verse is back, and we'll get to breaking down Florida State's roster when that time comes. That's not today. But their quarterback is good enough to beat LSU, and I'm just telling you that. I don't need to see the rest of the depth chart. I've seen him. He's good enough on a given night to beat LSU. Now, I kind of like the guy LSU's got a quarterback too, and I think the roster that this team has put together and the coaching staff that LSU has is going to put LSU in a great position in that game. And we'll pick winners and losers when that time comes. But Jordan Travis is damn good. And there's a reason he is graded first in the returning quarterbacks in college football. Give you the rest of the list and kind of some thoughts. Caleb Williams is number 2. A little surprised. I mean, he's only 0.1 behind Jordan Travis, who's 91.7. Caleb Williams, 91.6. And incidentally, going down just one more decimal point at 91.5 is Drake May. So those are your top 3, Travis, Williams, and May. I think by everyone's account, Williams and May are the likely first 2 picks in the draft. Sometimes that works out. Sometimes it doesn't. I think, was it Jamison Mariota that were kind of thought of that way, and it turned out that way. But sometimes things happen in a draft year. Joe Burrow coming out of nowhere comes to mind. And then number 4 surprised me. I think he's a good player. And we didn't see him last year, but I'm surprised he graded out this high, and that's KJ Jefferson at Arkansas at number 4. Number 5 is where you find Jayden Daniels. So Jayden rated the second best quarterback in the SEC by Pro Football Focus behind KJ Jefferson. I'm curious to watch KJ Jefferson this year because I thought that their offense was pretty well designed when you look at what Kendall Briles did. Now, when they played LSU and KJ Jefferson was out, they could have been out there for 2 years and they wouldn't have scored. But I thought Kendall Briles did a pretty good job. He's moved on. We'll see what can be done with Dan Enos, who I thought was good 10 years ago at Arkansas. What is he now? I don't know. But Jefferson's a good player. I'm just wondering how much he's going to run, because you run that much, you're kind of asking for it. Jayden's 5th. I'll just kind of go back to the thing, like, okay, I think a lot of people in Baton Rouge are like, oh, I don't know about this. I kind of like Nussmeier. I want to throw 5th best cornerback in the country returning by PFF. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good spot to be in, to have your quarterback ranked in the top 5 entering this coming season. He's in front of Sam Hartman at 6, in front of Michael Penix at 7, in front of Dylan Gabriel at 8, Bo Nix at 9. I'm shocked, and I haven't seen this kid play really at all since I watched him in Starkville. But Garrett Schrader is number 10. He's at Syracuse now. He looked like Matt Jones, the old Arkansas quarterback, when LSU played him a couple years ago, just kind of running. He couldn't really throw, just fast and tall and lanky. It looked like Matt Jones to me. For him to be 10 is crazy. But what you notice at this, and I know that Bryce Young's gone and Stetson Bennett's gone, and that matters, but those are quarterback competitions in Tuscaloosa and Athens, and things are not settled. And in Baton Rouge, they are. You've settled in as Jayden Daniels, your starting quarterback, and your backup didn't go anywhere. And I think a lot of people feel pretty good about him. Barrett Sallee, our guy from over there at CBS, he put out his SEC after spring rankings. He had Georgia 1, LSU 2, Bama 3. I think you can get used to that. I continue to see stuff like this that paints LSU in a really positive light nationally. Been a couple years off. Those last 2 years in 20 and 21 were not good, and they got it back on track this past year. But I think a lot of people nationally and regionally are going to have a lot of positive things to say about LSU in this offseason. And I think a lot of you will roll your eyes and say, well, they better, but it doesn't always happen. We are always going to think more of LSU's team than the national folks do in the summer. That's optimism season. I've said it and said it and said it and said it. And optimism season's coming. About to get the strength coach doing some shows. This guy's in the best shape of his life. Coaches hit that coaching caravan. They speak to big crowded rooms about this guy's running this speed and this guy's fully healthy and ready to go. And they feel like the culture's the best it's ever been. And the team's got a chip on its shoulder. And it's optimism season. That's always going to take place here in Baton Rouge. I'm just telling you it's going on around us too. And that's the same thing as I go to when I started the show with that Keith Law piece from The Athletic on LSU's baseball players, because we all know that Paul Skeens is the best pitcher in the country, and we all know that Dylan Cruz is a good player that's come through here, and we see them. But what is the national perspective? And when you get something like that, I think it just illuminates it. And when I see stories like this that have Jayden Daniels rated as the 5th quarterback coming back to college football, and I know that it's done by Pro Football Focus, who doesn't have any vested interest in LSU, that's a really cool thing and makes me feel really good about the summer to come and the fall to come. Got to get Preston Guy on from Tiger Baits soon, because he wrote a story that he tweeted out earlier today, said that 10-2 kind of feels like the floor. That seems a little strong for me. The floor is the bottom. That's as bad as it can get. I don't think 10-2 is as bad as it can get for LSU, but I do think they're going to be good. And that just brings it back in, because Preston's a guy from here. Pro Football Focus, that just guys grading film. They think LSU's pretty good. And oh, by the way, they think Jordan Travis is very good. And I'm going to be terrified about him for the next 3 months. That Superdome performance is burned in my brain. There are your Pro Football Focus grades. You can check that out at PFF_college on Twitter if you want to go check out that list.